Okay, the next adventure of I'll build you a temple. Prabhupada's in Vrindavan preparing to depart the world. But there's a lot of pages left, so he doesn't leave so quickly. Although I didn't want to leave Srila Prabhupada, I had duties to attend to in Bombay. So around the beginning of June, I returned by train. When I got back, I wrote to Tamal Krishna, everyone is very anxious about Srila Prabhupada's health. An article headed, Srila Prabhupada seriously ill, appeared in the front page of the Times of India. And thereafter, many concerned sympathizers telephoned the temple. Amoga Leela Prabhu then issued the statement carried under the heading, Srila Prabhupada now better. On the third page of the Times of India, Srila Prabhupada is our life and soul, so please inform us if there's any change in his health. We are continuing 24-hour kirtan. The first Times of India article had made Prabhupada's condition sound dire. Mathura, May 31. Swami Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, organizer of the Hare Krishna movement in India and abroad, has been brought to Vrindavan in a serious condition from Rishikesh. Several of the disciples from Mayapur and Delhi ashrams have arrived here. The 85-year-old Swami has established a temple in Vrindavan. The inaugural function of the Sanskrit university built by Swami Prabhupada has been postponed. 3 days later, another article appeared quoting Amogalila, the health of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, although apparently poor, is not critical, and in fact has improved since he left Bombay last month, according to a statement issued in Bombay on Thursday by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. After 2 weeks, I wrote Prabhupada thanking him for allowing me to come to Vrindavan, expressing my concern about his health and informing him of people's responses in Bombay. We want to thank you for calling us to Vrindavan, I wrote, though we are all very perturbed by your bodily condition. When we returned to Bombay, we found that the Times of India had carried an article about your illness on the front page, and that everyone in the city was experiencing transcendental anxiety for your divine grace. Sushil Asnani was especially upset. He has been reading your books very intently and decided to completely reform his habits according to your direction. He is eager to take initiation from your divine grace and prays that he will have that opportunity. Similarly, Sri K.J. Somaya was ready to leave for Vrindavan when he read the news. Solicitor merchant, whatever that is, immediately started to pray for your health and mentioned, that's the lady's name.
That's her last name, merchant.
Solicitor, okay, that's her title, huh? Merchant immediately started to pray for your health and mentioned that she has been living just so she could read your translation of the 10th canto. In general, the entire population of Bombay has been merged in the ocean of remembering your merciful pastimes and chanting your transcendental glories. I have sent a newsletter to all the members requesting them to pray to Krishna for your improved health and long life. Unquote. I also shared my own thoughts and reflections and the recent developments, progress, and plans in Juhu. From these incidents, we have concluded that you are indeed the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. Every functioning organism must have an active living principle. Generally, that living force is called the soul. And due to the presence of the soul, the body's activities develop. When the soul departs, the body is dead. The same process operates in every functioning entity, be it the tiny body of an insect or the gigantic form of the universe. In the ant, the living energy is called Jiva. In the universe, Krishna. We find that while Lord Krishna is the soul of the universe, your divine grace is certainly the soul of this planet. Srimad Bhagavatam states 2:3:23. Only the dust from your lotus feet gives life to this planet. Only because you are engaging us in devotional service do we have life. The soul is the living principle of the dead body. Since you are the living principle on this planet, we conclude that you are the soul of this planet. You are the life and soul of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So, because you have left Vrindavan, all of the servitors of your lotus feet are suffering. It is as if the lakes filled with lotus flowers have dried up from the scorching heat of separation from you. Without your divine grace, this planet is dead. You are the super soul, as Lord Krishna is Sarvatma, the soul of all souls. When Lord Krishna expanded himself as a duplicate set of cowherd boys and calves, all the residents of Vrindavan loved their new sons and calves more than the original ones. In fact, they loved the new ones, just as they loved Krishna. Shukadev Goswami explains that we love our children, friends, society, etc., because they are all expansions of ourselves. But first of all, we love ourselves. And why do we love ourselves? We love ourselves because the self is an expansion of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the supreme lovable object. Paragraph. We think that your divine grace has the same quality as Krishna, that you are the dearmost personality on earth. I'm not saying this just because I am your disciple. Actually, everyone feels this way. I first had this realization when Mr. Nair sent a prostitute to entice me. She was placing her hands on different places of my body, and I was affected by the desire to enjoy. I am such a rascal that I was thinking, let me enjoy. I know that Krishna will punish me, and I am ready to face that suffering. Let me enjoy now. But then I considered, if I do this, Prabhupada will suffer, and the thought of you suffering was so painful to me that I rejected my foolish ideas. That was the first time I realized that you are just like Sarvatma, more dear than the living entity, more dear to the living entity than the person himself. And now the people of Bombay are experiencing the same phenomena, that they are more concerned with your life than with their own. Paragraph. The activities in Bombay are gaining more and more momentum. The preachers are enrolling more and more members, and we have purchased 2 more ambassador cars. Yay. To facilitate their work. The construction is more and more taking its final shape, and everyone is anticipating the grand opening in October. We met Mr. Mohata to discuss checking the bills and paying the ECC, and he suggested that we pay rupees 2 lakhs or rupees 3 lakhs per month after checking their actual work for that month. He said that the margin of approximately 10 lakhs that we owe to ECC should be maintained, and that at the end of the work, we can ask them to reduce their final bill. We also met the mayor of Bombay, and he has set the mechanism in motion for giving us the 10-foot access area as per their usual rates. He also said that he would give us a concession on municipal taxes for our religious and educational activities, and he requested us to give him a separate application for that. Our committee has also discussed arrangements for the grand opening ceremony. Surabhi Swami and Gopal Krishna Prabhu will be meeting you in Vrindavan, and they will give you any more details that you might want. When was that? Doesn't say the date. Well, yeah, June something. Doesn't say.
So somewhere in the middle of June.
Somewhere in the middle of June, because the next is in July. Okay. On July 7th, I wrote Prabhupada, quote, as your most unfortunate and foolish servants, we are trying to take your hint to meet regularly as a committee. We say that we are unfortunate because, in spite of being in this movement for so many years, we have failed to acquire a taste for hearing the message of Vasudev. And we say that we are foolish because we have accepted this material body, we are inexperienced, and we are foreign. Therefore, we are completely dependent upon your guidance, and we pray for your mercy. We have discussed amongst ourselves and wish to appraise your divine grace of the following situation. We have to spend a further sum of 58 lakhs by the first week of November in order to complete the project in time. Ramaswar is committed to send a further sum of 42 lakhs by the first week of November, and Gopal Krishna Prabhu agreed at Mayapur to raise the balance, 16,000. From experience, we know that Ramaswar's final installment of 6 lakhs may reach late, and Gopal Krishna Prabhu's 16,000 may take up to 2 years. Therefore, we had to consider how to ensure receiving the 22 lakhs so we could open the project in time. Considering the urgency of the situation, we did not want to leave anything to chance. Therefore, we decided to request your divine grace to sanction a loan of 22 lakhs against our deposits at Bank of America to be given to us as follows: 666 and 4, August, September, October, November. Ramaswar's final installment of 6 lakhs due in November can be used to repay 6 lakhs of the loan from Bank of America, and we propose that half of its future remittances from January through March also be used to repay the loan. From April, whatever balance remains to be repaid to the loan, about 4 lakhs, can be paid from the local Bombay collections and BBT profits in their intervening months, and as such, your valued deposits would be safe. Then, the extra money taken from Ramaswar Swami's December to March remittances could be reimbursed from Gopal Krishna Prabhu's pledge of 16 lakhs. We pray that your divine grace will consider our situation and guide us accordingly. The letter was signed by Surabhi Swami, Gopal Krishna, Bali Mardan, and me. 12 days later, I wrote, I hope that your divine grace is enjoying the Vrindavan atmosphere filled with peacocks, desire trees, and Surabhi cows. You must be experiencing transcendental ecstasy in the association of Krishna Balaram, the cowherd boys, Srimati Radharani, the gopis, and all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, pure devotees, who are simply absorbed in chanting, hearing, and remembering the glorious pastimes of the Lord. Paragraph. Your new center for Vedic culture and education is manifesting its real form. Surabhi Swami has conceived of such a beautiful plan, and now it is actually taking shape. Most of the marble has already been fixed in the darshan mandap and courtyard, and work has begun on some of the small domes. Maharaj says that the inside marble work can be completed in 2 months. The large domes also should be ready for the grand opening, and Surabhi Swami will be checking the progress when he goes to Makrana at the end of the month. Many of the guest rooms are practically finished. Mainly the furnishing work remains, and the decorations are now completing 3 sample guest rooms. The decorators are now completing 3 sample guest rooms. These rooms are so attractive that anyone would be eager to stay in them. We expect that many gentlemen will contribute 4 such rooms after the project opens, and that the whole world will rush to experience the wonder of Hare Krishna land. Our regular committee meetings are creating an auspicious atmosphere for opening the project on time. We are planting 200 more coconut trees, Zowie, to beautify the land and increase the yield. And we anticipate an additional 15,000 per year from the coconuts. No kidding. Jayanti Lal Mankar is organizing the World Vegetarian Conference in India this year, and he wants to bring all 500 delegates for at least one day for prasad and meetings at Hare Krishna land. Hey. He will also encourage the delegates to stay in our guest house, and he is giving us a booth at their exhibits at Cross Maidan. Yes?
Yes.
Hey, finally got it. He wants to sell your books, make propaganda, and earn. Paragraph. Some of our boys have been very successful selling your books to wholesale distributors and retail shops. Some have arranged with bank managers to sell your books to all their staff. We want to contribute to, in big caps, double it. Paragraph. Our Sunday feast program is becoming more popular every week. More and more people are coming to relish the sublime mercy of Lord Chaitanya and the holy name from 4:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. We have a continuous program of kirtan, artis, lectures, book distribution, prasad distribution, and philosophizing. To accommodate all the guests at the love feast, we now have 2 complete servings in the temple, as well as an exclusive serving on stainless steel in our special rooms for distinguished guests. While we serve one group, we give the other group a tour of the new building. Many gentlemen immediately volunteer to become members of our society, and some are asking to contribute for guest rooms. Paragraph. Whenever we write you, we meditate upon your greatness and are overwhelmed. We cannot even begin to imagine your position of transcendental knowledge and bliss. We can only thank you again and again for engaging us in these small services and in writing reports, because only in this way are we able to reciprocate in love with the spiritual master or servitor Godhead. 8 days later, I wrote again, quote, we are writing in pursuance of to our 7777 letter, and in reply to Tamal Krishna Goswami's letter of 1777. The matter is now very urgent. We again wish to request a loan of 22 lakhs against your fixed deposits. The information given in our letter stands correct, and we need only the loan ready requested by us. In the event Ramaswar Swami's November remittance reaches in time, we will not require your last installment, but whenever his November remittance comes, we can use it to repay the loan. Ramaswar Swami had also confirmed by telephone that he will send the additional $200,000 after the temple opens for the purpose of repaying the loan. Gopal Krishna Prabhu will be meeting you in Vrindavan to discuss the actual formalities involved in taking the loan, unquote. The letter was signed by Surabhi Swami, Gopal Krishna, Bali Mardan, and me. In Vrindavan, Prabhupada was hearing reports of increased book distribution and of the devotees' prayers for his health. He also liked getting our regular Juhu updates. Quote, Srila Prabhupada always keeps you within his heart. Tamal Krishna wrote me, and I know how much he appreciates hearing from you as often as you like to write, unquote. He was still hardly sleeping in the heat, staying up on the roof and translating most nights. But with encouragement from the prayers and positive reports and care from a local Kabiraj, an Ayurvedic doctor, his appetite increased, and there was some improvement in his health. And within a few weeks, as unexpectedly as he had announced his decision to go to Vrindavan, he said that he wanted to return to his preaching in the West. The devotees taking care of Prabhupada were concerned about him traveling, and his doctor was opposed to the idea, proposing that he at least wait until winter when his body would respond better to his treatment. But Prabhupada was determined to go. His plan was to visit London for Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja, then New York, the Gitanagari Farm, Pennsylvania, and Los Angeles, and then Hawaii, where the pleasant climate would facilitate his work on Srimad Bhagavatam. Paragraph. You will be amazed to know that it is almost definite that Srila Prabhupada is coming to the West immediately. Tamal Krishna wrote to Ramaswar on August 22. Throughout the world, all devotees are praying, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. The love of his disciples is the greatest medicine and is having the most wonderful effect on his divine grace. Although physically he is in very poor health, he is being kept alive by the love of his devotees. In one letter, Panchadravita offered his youth in exchange for Prabhupada's old age. Upon hearing this, Srila Prabhupada said, I have no old age. We're all of the same age. It is not depending on old or young body. The Atma has no old age. We're all Vaikuntha men, all new boys, Navayovana. In all of the letters which are daily received, the devotees are all praying to Prabhupada to please remain with us. Srila Prabhupada said, after hearing one of these prayers, I think I'll have to stay on to your request. I think I will have to stay on your request. Krishna is very kind. He is Bhaktavatsala. So many devotees are praying. Their prayers cannot be frustrated. Although the traveling will be difficult upon Srila Prabhupada, he is requesting me now daily to take him under any condition to the West. 2 days later, he wrote me, quote, by the time you receive this letter, Srila Prabhupada should have already left India. I could not inform you earlier of his divine grace's plans because Srila Prabhupada was thinking to go one day and then not to go the next. It was only 3 days ago that his divine grace actually decided definitely to leave India. His reason is that he feels the change will be good for his health, as will a cooler climate. But most of all, he wants to be in his Western temples with the Western disciples because he feels this will enthuse him and give him new life. Srila Prabhupada says that he wants to see our society a little stronger, and by his going around the world, even if he does not speak but is simply present, this will make our society stronger, and thus it will endure permanently. So now, once again, you'll have to serve his divine grace in separation. While he is overseas, I request that you write very often, Tamal Krishna continued, as Prabhupada is always thinking of Bombay. The other day, Srila Prabhupada said, I was thinking, why have I neglected the West for so long? It is because I had to persist in Bombay, unquote. Actually, for the last 6 or 7 years, Srila Prabhupada's main work, besides translating, has been the Bombay Temple. So you must keep him continuously informed of all the events and activities with full descriptions, photographs, and anything else you can send, which will allow Srila Prabhupada to see through your eyes. One morning, Tamal Krishna saw Prabhupada gazing intently at the deities and after asking him what he was praying, and afterward asked him what he was praying. Quote, I was praying to Radha Gokulananda, Prabhupada replied, to please engage me in the service of Radha Rasa Bihari. Oh. A week after receiving Tamal Krishna's letter, we wrote to Prabhupada, we're pleased to inform your divine grace that the work is progressing nicely and that the public are anxiously awaiting our grand opening. At this stage, we again have to propose that your divine grace loan us 10 lakhs from your monies in India, and we, your servants at the Hare Krishna Land Committee, guarantee to repay the loan. We do not want to borrow any money from the USA, nor do we want Ramaswara Swami to repay any loan for us. We want to take the loan on our own account, and we are self-pledged to repay it. The reason we want the loan is to ensure the mission of Hare Krishna Land is successfully fulfilled. We have spent so much money to build Hare Krishna Land because we want to attract the fallen souls to the lotus feet of Krishna. Specifically, we want them to purchase your Divine Grace's books and associate with the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees. If the building is incomplete, we will be unable to attract people as we could if it were complete. We wanted to increase the prestige of our movement, but if we open and have to try to function in an unfinished building, we may actually become a laughingstock. Paragraph. The reason we want to borrow the money and then repay it over time, rather than just finish the building over time, is we can save money and trouble by allowing the workers who are already here to continue in the same way that they are now working. Having brought them here, not to send them away would add to the expense of the work as well as to the problems. So we feel that we would rather allow the work to finish as planned. In the past months, we have already undertaken to raise 3 lakhs to 6 lakhs for the new deities, as well as for equipping and staffing the new restaurant and guest house. In other words, we've accepted some financial responsibility for the new project, but we never thought it necessary to mention this particular point. In conclusion, we pray that you will consider our plea and cable your decision. Prabhupada had been supplying funds for the Juhu construction, and he was emphatic that he would not give more than a specified limit. But as hard as we tried to control the expenditure, we still ended up needing considerably more funds. I was in a dilemma. I did not know what to do, so I consulted Tamal Krishna. He said that I was the only one who could get Prabhupada to give the funds, and the best approach was for me to phone him in England. So I did. Before our letter could reach him, I apologized to Prabhupada for having to ask for more funds, and I gave my personal guarantee that I would repay the loan. Prabhupada agreed. And on September 5, at Bhaktivedanta Manor, he drafted a loan agreement. Wow. Prabhupada. I, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, founder and chair of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, are giving a loan of 16 lakhs only for the purpose of the completion of the temple and guest house of Hare Krishna Land, Juhu, Bombay. The management of ISKCON Bombay will pay this loan back, with the first payment due on 30th November 77. The loan will be payable over a period of 2 years in 24 equal installments with 10% interest charged. Haribol. As the loan was given in 3 parts, one in August, one in September, and one in October, 10% interest will be charged for loaning these amounts through November 77. The monthly installment payable is, it gives the rupees, below the main text of the document were places for each of us to sign. Prabhupada, me, Gopal Krishna, Bali Mardhan, and Surabhi Swami. Prabhupada was meticulous in business dealings, even with his disciples, showing us by example how we should deal with money, Krishna's money, in the material world. The same day, Tamal Krishna wrote to Swarup Damodar in America, Srila Prabhupada is resting nicely here at Bhaktivedanta Manor, which he said is the nicest house in the world. His body's a wreck, and he's in the nicest house in the world. The atmosphere is wonderful, very serene, and Srila Prabhupada is resting in a way that he was unable to do in India, completely free from any worries. He also very much enjoys the loving association of all his disciples here, to whom he gives darshan every day from 8:30 to 9:15 in the morning in front of Sri Radha Gokulananda. Srila Prabhupada will be probably coming to the US quite soon, perhaps in a week's time. Away from India, Prabhupada also reflected on his struggles there. I am doing such a great work, he said. They are suspecting that I have brought some CIA. I just read that news in a Hindi newspaper here, an Indian devotee said, that in Nadia they have got themselves a Krishna conscious ashram for CAA. And Bhavananda, he worked in high portal rank in Vietnam and all this. The Communist Party, they are against us, so they are ... The government should try to encourage our movement rather than stop it. I have so much disgust that I don't wish to return to India, Prabhupada stated. Ooh. Ooh. I've got enough people to work here in Europe and America. Why shall I have to protect myself from these obstacles offered by the government? A different energy is lost. They are foolish government servants. Recently, they have asked me for an explanation. Oh, you have acquired some residential land? So explain, or we shall punish. Agricultural land in Mayapur, say about 2 or 3 bighas, about 10 acres. We have made a pavilion for prasadam distribution. What will be produced on 2 or 3 bighas land? Say practically how much rice will be produced. Say about 30 mounds, around 2,400 pounds of rice. So 30 mounds rice, how many people can you feed throughout the whole year? And we are preparing 30 mounds of rice every week. Without any production, they're eating ready-made food, 3,000 per week. How many people are we feeding throughout the whole year? How many? 3,000 per week. 52 weeks, Tamal Krishna replied. 156,000. 156,000, an Indian devotee said. So why does the government not see this, that we are giving something? I am just speaking. All the government officers are rascals, Prabhupada said. They have no common sense. Suppose stopping for a few thousand, not over 100, and we're feeding so many thousands. So what is the loss there? I'm asking explanation. They have stolen such government mandar. Prabhupada made a sound of disgust. Their only business is to harass, Tamal Krishna said, and take money. Should we protest and fight against them? The Indian devotee asked. He's purposely leaving the name out. How can I protest against them? Prabhupada said. It is folly to be wise where ignorance is bliss. So many rascal government servants, and their determination is to put obstacles in the way of this movement. It will be impossible to build. My best energies are lost. They're always putting some obstacles. Like what happened in Juhu, Tamal Krishna said. How much energy you had to expend simply for the building of one project. How much? No one in their whole life could have expended as much energy as you spent there. So, considering all these points from the very beginning, their suspicion and putting obstacles, I have no more desire to return back. It is my heart's desire, not not the least desire, to go back to India. But how can we spread this Krishna consciousness there? The Indian devotee asked. In India, we also need it. Whatever I have done, now do. But I do not wish to return back, to be governed by these nasty laws. Most nasty. And now I can live here very comfortably. I can live in America very comfortably, finished. In India, oh, they put me into so much uncomfortable position that sometimes I cried. By such treatment, I have lost my health. Prabhupada was practically weeping as he spoke. Last year, what I saw and compared to this, I couldn't believe the report. The Indian devotee said, I can die in London. Everyone is rascal, magician. They do not know what is God, what is bhakti, how to perform it. So, 100% I am disgusted. I do not wish to return to India anymore. For the next is death. In the morning, when I sit down, there are nice devotees chanting Hare Krishna. I have seen Radha Kukulananda. If I die in London, that is my great fortune. Why should I return to India to feel always botheration, anxiety? Whatever I have done, I have given my will and purpose of honor. You try to maintain it. Otherwise, I have no desire, nothing. I have no such sentiment. This is my country. This is my. If I would have been driven by such sentiment, nobody leaves Vrindavan in this condition of life. I have no special love for India. I'm not that materialistic nationalist or it is a pleasure to be here because of the devotion, Tamal Krishna said. The devotion is everywhere in all these devotees. There are so many nice devotees here. I am so much pleased how the boys and girls are enjoying spiritual life, dancing wonderfully. Here also, the Indians are not coming. So, why shall I have special affection for India? The last 6 or 7 years, you have labored so hard in India with unbelievable obstacles in each place, in Mayapur, in Bombay, in Hyderabad, in Vrindavan, everywhere is so much opposition. I don't think the American government ever gave any such opposition. Well, the brainwashing. They are civilized. These are nasty. All third class, fourth class men. They have no common sense with such motives. I mean, putting this in writing is just like pretty heavy. Okay. You must have thought carefully about whether to include all this. Even if we stop feeding a few hundred men, we're giving regularly prasad for so many lakhs of people, and still they're asking explanation. Why are you? Such nasty people are in the government, and they are the heads of the government. How can you expect good behavior from them? Tamal Krishna summarized Prabhupada's journey and stay at Bhaktivedanta Manor in a letter to Hansaduta. Quote, Srila Prabhupada arrived here in London on the 27th of August. The ride was very difficult, taking 18 hours due to a 6-hour delay caused by the strike in the London airport. However, His Divine Grace tolerated the ride and arrived all right. Srila Prabhupada was so much pleased to be in the West with his Western disciples, and he felt very much enlivened to see them and the wonderful way they are conducting Krishna consciousness here. He also very much enjoys staying at the manor, which he says is his best house in the world. The atmosphere is very peaceful and restful, and Srila Prabhupada is not at all bothered by any anxiety, as is always the case when he is in India, just as you are experiencing difficulties in dealing with the Indian government there. Srila Prabhupada has had so many difficulties in his various projects with the Indian government in India. Practically, they have never been cooperative at any time. So now he is feeling quite relieved by being outside of India. His health, however, has not very much improved. On the same day, he wrote me, Srila Prabhupada has just undergone a minor surgical operation, which seems to have come out successfully. His divine grace is resting, but is very, very weak, at least as weak as he was in Vrindavan. Please pray for his recovery and have all the devotees there also do so. Meanwhile, Tamal Krishna had been making arrangements for Prabhupada to go to America, but the day after his Vyasa Puja, Prabhupada's health took a downward turn and he couldn't even go down to the temple room. Then, the following day, he said, if I live a few more days, let me see the opening of the Bombay temple. We can wait here, then fly to Bombay. I've worked so hard for it. If I see the opening and then die, it'll be a very peaceful death. And if I live, I can come back here. And when Srup Damodar arrived from Boston the following day, Prabhupada told him, I want to return to India, to Bombay. Break. Within 2 days, Prabhupada and his party were on a flight to Bombay. When they landed, Gargamuni, Balimardan, Haridas, and I met them on the tarmac with Prabhupada's car. The immigration and customs procedures were handled right there, and within minutes, Prabhupada was on his way to the Hare Krishna land. I told the devotees not to go to the airport for Prabhupada's landing. There wouldn't be a greeting, and when his car came through the gates in Juhu, they shouldn't rush and greet him there either, but should stay in the background. Upon arrival, Prabhupada proceeded straight to his quarters. The elevator was now working, and went right to bed. He called for me, and I came and sat on the floor beside him. He spoke about his time in England and the kirtans there. They were wonderful, he said. He also told me that K.J. Somaya had come to visit him in Vrindavan, and upon seeing his bedridden condition, he started to weep. When I asked if the hammering and chiseling and other noises of the construction would disturb him, he replied that it was like music to his ears. Then he closed his eyes and lay back to rest. When Prabhupada awoke toward the end of the day, Tamal Krishna also asked him if the noises were bothering him. These sounds don't disturb me at all, Prabhupada said, because I'm thinking that work is being completed. You can note the distinction, how in London I was feeling restless, but not here. It's because I like Bombay. Of all the cities in India, I like this the most. When Abhiram told Prabhupada that his Juhu quarters were fit for Indra, the king of heaven, Prabhupada smiled broadly, and for a long while. He was beaming, and Abhiram sensed that he was feeling, quote, a little proud and quite happy, unquote. You can arrange for 1 or 2 men to have kirtan in my room when I sleep, Prabhupada told him, so if I die, I can be hearing. Srila Prabhupada, Abhiram replied, from my observations, it appears that you have not become accustomed to old age. You could live this way for a very long time, simply lying in bed, preaching to disciples and seeing different devotees, and we could take care of you. I have no objection, Prabhupada said. And as Abhiram was massaging his back, he commented, "This massage gives me a little relief. Otherwise, there is no relief." Srila Prabhupada Abhiram said, "My giving service to you is giving me relief from my miserable material existence." And Prabhupada smiled. Abhiram told him that he had read that a sick person could get strength from a healthy person through massage, and Prabhupada nodded, yes. "We disciples are ready to give our lives," Abhiram continued. "Otherwise, we would be wasting them in sense gratification." And again, Prabhupada agreed. Prabhupada spent the whole next day in bed. He did not speak and hardly moved. Despite drinking juice, milk, and Complan, the milkshake, he had no strength. When Tamal Krishna asked him how he was feeling, he said simply, "Crisis." The following morning, Prabhupada asked for his japamala and kept the beads around his neck all day, even while resting in his bed. During his massage, he fingered the beads and chanted silently. He had asked for kirtan in his room, but when two devotees who were thought to be good singers came and chanted, Prabhupada had them dismissed, saying their kirtan was dead. Wow. Oh, Prabhupada. Then he had Lokanath come, and he had very much appreciated his kirtan. And that night, he called for Tamal Krishna and asked him to sit next to his bed and chant japa with him. Prabhupada's physical condition seemed to be worsening. The next day, he wanted to try a doctor who had cured the father of one of our neighbors, who was supposed to have been suffering from the same disease. But Tamal Krishna dissuaded him, and Prabhupada agreed, saying, "Your advice is always very nice." Quote, "I said I felt confident Prabhupada would remain to see the temple opening and go to Vrindavan also," Tamal Krishna wrote in his diary. "This pleased Srila Prabhupada very much, and with great feeling he rubbed my head and said, 'May your words be blessed. Bless me that I may fix up my mind. How can I, who am like stool, bless the pure devotee of the Lord?'" In the morning, Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada whether he could stay, as he was in Juhu for 5 weeks until the temple opening. "If you encourage me," Prabhupada said, and he added, "the next program is Vrindavan." Due to Prabhupada's poor health, not many visitors were allowed to see him, but that afternoon, the devotees were invited to have his darshan in his quarters. They lined up and were instructed to approach him one by one, pay their obeisances, and then get up and leave without talking to him. Prabhupada was sitting, hunched over, and cross-legged behind his desk, holding his knees with his arms as if to prop himself up. He was just skin and bones. "People don't live that long," Kanta later remarked. "They die before they get to that point." But Prabhupada just kept going. Word spread that Prabhupada was in Bombay. Siddhar Swami arrived from Hyderabad, but Prabhupada wanted him to come only for darshan and not give a report. When Tamal Krishna asked whether he would see any important guests, he said that he would see only Bhogilal Patel, far out, and Kartikeya Mahadevia. Within minutes, as if on cue, Kartikeya showed up, and he and Sridhar went in together. Seeing Prabhupada's deteriorated condition, Kartikeya was uncharacteristically silent until, at Prabhupada's request, he described the political climate in India. Prabhupada asked to be raised up, and he showed an unusual amount of interest in the topic. After hearing Kartikeya's report, he commented, "They are missing the point. The whole world is. This is the disease of the body. One party is no better than the other. It is stool one side or the other. What can they do?" One of Srila Prabhupada's previously regular visitors was Smriti Warrior, who at the age of 12 remained very attached to him. She was accustomed to bringing Prabhupada breakfast every day and pretty much walking in any time. But now his staff was not allowing visitors. And although Prabhupada had been in Juhu for days, she had not been able to see him. One evening she came and they would not let her in. So she just stood there crying. When Tamal Krishna saw her, he understood the situation and said, "Okay, go ahead." But he cautioned her, "Be very quiet. He's taking rest. Just go in and come out." Prabhupada was sleeping when she went in, so she simply stood there for a few moments looking at him. He was lying there, and she saw him calm and peaceful, not feeling pain, so she grasped his feet for a moment and then turned and ran. "I don't know if I woke him up or not," she said years later, "but I just grasped his feet and ran out. I just grabbed the mercy, and that was the last time I saw him." Although Prabhupada's visitors were being closely monitored, when a young Muslim who had been helping our society in Iran came for darshan, Tamal Krishna let him in, thinking that encouraging him might help Atreya Rishi's program there. But when the man asked Prabhupada whether everything in his books was true, and then asserted that there were many incorrect statements because they did not agree with the Quran, he was ushered out. Tamal Krishna was surprised that such a person had been engaged to translate Prabhupada's books, and Prabhupada agreed that he should not be permitted to do so. The following day, Tamal Krishna wheeled Prabhupada out on one of the verandas, wanting to give him some fresh air and a change of surroundings, where Prabhupada asked to be brought back to his bed after only a minute. Soon after, I became ill, and I was confined for some days to my small room in the back of the property. From the day I had come to Krishna consciousness, I had never listened to any songs besides those written by the Vaishnavacharyas, but a devotee had recently given me a tape of Mangalananda, and while recuperating on the floor of my room, I decided to listen. One song, Hidden Worlds, was about going back to Godhead, and I played it again and again, thinking of Srila Prabhupada. The song began with a description of what devotees are like, and what they do, and what happens to them, and what results they get. Okay, here comes the lyrics. Selflessness relieves distress. The gentle rain of happiness puts out the burning fire of life, transports the soul beyond all strife. Past starry night and cruel death, for those who give their living breath, upon their lips the holy name, in praise of he who came. To them a store of bliss is known, All hidden worlds to them are shown. Then there was a description of the spiritual abode, the life that is our goal, where love supremely fills every eye, sweet jubilation fills the sky, as dancing milkmaids and cowherd boys play in forest green with joys. Of bale and jackfruit lily white, an endless full moon nectar night, of dancing magic loving smiles, and gopis damsels playful wiles, they sport in lotus lakes with he whose glances taste of ecstasy. This is really hard to read. I'm telling you, it's really hard to read. I don't know if I want to finish it. It's really difficult. I was sad that Prabhupada was so sick and might soon be leaving us. But I was also heartened by the thought that he was going back to Godhead. How many? There's too many more pages. Though in one sense, he was already there. And I also considered that it was my destination too. One day, I too was destined to join him there. But I had no idea when I would reach it. I also wondered what would happen after Prabhupada left. I even thought, what will happen to me? He was my savior and protector. And I felt anxious, uneasy, and unsettled about what would happen after his departure. At the same time, as I lay there, I felt ashamed of and disappointed with myself for worrying about myself so much and for having so little faith. Although Prabhupada was not able to go down to the temple to see Radharasa Bihari, he daily asked to see their photo, on which he meditated with love. One morning, after Tamal Krishna had given him his bath and put on his tilak, he held Radharasa Bihari's picture and chanted the Gayatri mantra, taking 10 minutes, longer than usual. Then he asked Tamal Krishna to nail the framed picture on his bedpost so he could always see their lordships. On awakening the next morning, he immediately began talking. Every living entity is suffering, he said, from Brahma down to the ant. There is no happiness. Then he closed his eyes and fell back asleep. When he woke up again, he said, Daivhiyeshu Kunamai. Tamal Krishna asked him whether he was thinking these things while sleeping. Yes, he replied, I was dreaming. The whole machine has gone bad. He told Brahmananda and the other assistants that afternoon, you cannot expect me to have a young body like yours. It is material. When I was younger, I would always recover. You cannot expect me to live forever. Naturally, I can't live. It will have to depend on Krishna. If Krishna likes, he can do anything. My request is somehow or other, I was born in a different community, a different atmosphere. You were born in a different community, a different atmosphere. I have given some idea, and you have taken it, and people have appreciated it as standard. Now it depends on you how to spread it. The ideas, the plan, I have already written in my books. You have to take the direction and spread it all over the world. The reception is already there. If by Krishna's grace I survive, I shall certainly help you more and more. You can request Krishna's blessings to spare me. When Brahmananda said that Prabhupada's quarters were very nice and that, in fact, everything in the movement was made for his pleasure, Prabhupada replied, I cannot take these with me. I'm leaving them for you to use. When Gargamuni came and described how he was organizing Southeast Asia for, quote, spiritual encyclopedia sales, Prabhupada said, a lion in the chase and a lamb at home, may you be blessed by Krishna. Then he began to cry. What can I do? He lamented. You are doing so much service. I can only pray to Krishna on your behalf. Gargamuni replied that he can find no one in the world. This is too much. I can't go on. We'll continue tomorrow, maybe.